always talk about Egypt, about this beautiful country. In Egypt, we have many, many things to talk about. We are talking not only about ancient Egypt, not only about temples and historical sites. Whenever we talk about Egypt, we have to talk about the diversification of the tourism product. We have a lot of things to talk about, whether we are talking about recreational tourism, we are talking about sports tourism, about events taking place in Egypt. We have celebrities visiting Egypt to find out more about Egypt and more about the important sites here. Many, many things and many, many places to visit. We have museums as well. Each museum will tell us more about a certain period of time and more about the ancient history and culture. Some other museums will tell us more about modern Egypt. We also have palaces in which we will learn more about modern Egypt. That's why we always say Egypt has it all, especially if you are planning to visit Egypt and you have with you your children, I mean all members of the family. This is very, very important because everyone will enjoy his time and also children will find many, many interesting things to do. Even if you are visiting museums, for example, we have some important places inside each of these museums that are dedicated to children. So this is the most important part about Egypt. If you are looking for a vacation in Egypt, make sure that you will find whatever you are looking for.
Is the city of 1,000 minarets and the capital of Egypt. On the Nile River, Cairo is famous for its own history, preserved in the fabulous medieval Islamic city and Coptic sites in Old Cairo. Museum in the center of town. For sure, no trip to Cairo would be complete without a visit to the Giza pyramids and to some of the nearby sites. But always remember that visiting its palaces is important as well. El Tahra Palace is one of the palaces located in Cairo. Designed by Antonio Laskiak, the palace was built in 20th century for Princess Amina, daughter of Khedive Ismail and the mother of Muhammad Tahir Pasha. The palace has a unique style which features Italian palazzo, a fact accentuated by its inimitable marble stairways and fantastic alabaster ceilings. According to many, the design clearly evokes that architectural marvel which graces Rome's Palazzo Barberini. The palace is surrounded by green fields and palm groves, and moving around this garden is really interesting due to its fantastic atmosphere and landscape. Palace presents a wonderful overview of one of the most cherished 20th century presidential guest house in Egypt. second in the series of publications after Abdeen Palace, as well as the jewel of 19th century Cairo, the Document Egypt's Presidential Palaces, a project undertaken in an effort to highlight and safeguard our proud cultural heritage, our national treasures, and our memories. Another reminder of the architect's origins is the water fountain fronting the palace. As for the building, it constitutes 3 floors built over 1,300 square meters, comprising the Salamlek garages and servants' wing. The king bought the palace without its furniture and embarked on furnishing it by gathering pieces, buying some and obtaining some from his ancestors' treasures. Amongst was the famous golden throne of Muhammad Ali Pasha. Added a large hall to the palace, which he named after his great-grandfather. To this hall, he brought an ebonite billiard table inlaid with gold. The table was a gift from the King of France to Muhammad Ali Pasha and was also left at Shubra Palace till King Farouk took it to Al Tahra Palace. Ordered the placement of a piano made of ebony and inlaid with ivory, that belonged to the era of his grandfather Khidr Ismail. However, the masterpiece of the antiquities of the palace is a large clock covering a good part of one of the walls of the main salon. It is a model of the famous clock of the city of Strasbourg. The magnificent piece is decorated with small statues and shows the time, phases of the moon as well as days of the week and month. Farouk found the clock at one of his palaces in a poor condition and ordered its restoration. At the ground floor, the visitor will first see Muhammad Ali Hall. On the first floor, there is another spacious hall covered with silk carpets. One of its walls is covered with Strasbourg clock, while in its center was a marble statue of Khidr Ismail. another corner of the small hall a large picture representing a Roman scene, all made of fusaifisa or mosaic. That was a gift from the Pope to Muhammad Ali. To the right of this hall is the king's office, which is connected to two smaller salons that were used as waiting rooms. One of the two is decorated in Arabesque style, featuring a tasteful fireplace covered with ceramics. The ceiling was brought from an older Arabesque house and the walls were rebuilt to fit the ceiling. A majestic marble staircase leads to the second floor, where a large multicolored chandelier that belongs to Muhammad Ali era is hanging. The main piece in this floor was a grand cigar humidor that belonged to Khedive Ismail. Palace is a gem in a majestic garden publication presents a wonderful overview of one of the most cherished 20th century residential guest house in Egypt.
With this, we come to the end of our backpack for today. Thank you all for joining us. Remember, we'll be back to bring you more about Egypt and more about the important sites where you can enjoy your vacation. Till then, thank you for joining us and bye.